Happy Thursday, everyone. I hope you're having an amazing week so far, and we got lots to get to today. Some sports, of course, because we got to talk about those 6-0 Chiefs, the Ravens, Lions, and plus AI, and how it's affecting the upcoming election, and how the darker side of AI is coming to light. But before we get to all of that, I got to ask you guys, what side, for the record, is your team 6-0? The Chiefs are the last undefeated team standing after beating the who? Bang Bang Niner gang this past Sunday. And the only people that can beat the Chiefs at this point are the Chiefs. I mean, even with costly injuries, Hollywood Brown gone. My guy Pacheco gone. Rashee Rice gone. Yeah, and Mahomes isn't even launching crazy passes like he usually does. And they're still pulling it off. Our quarterback is out there trucking guys, putting his dad bod, as he likes to call it, to use. I mean, the way Mahomes jukes defenders, the way he seemingly does it so slow, yet so fast, it needs to be studied somewhere. And now the Chiefs just got 5-time Pro Bowler receiver DeAndre Hopkins from the Titans because they weren't doing nothing with him. We got him for a conditional 5th-round draft pick. And once Mahomes and Hopkins really get things rolling, and I don't see any reason why that won't happen, 3-peat on the way, baby. And we're going to see how it all goes this Sunday in Vegas when the Chiefs take on division rivals, the Raiders. And I like the Raiders too. And, you know, usually this is where we'd see the Chiefs dip. The Chiefs are 2-1 versus the Raiders in the last 3 matchups, losing by what, just a touchdown this past Christmas? But man, I'm not predicting a close game this time though, okay? I think the Chiefs take this one by a long shot. I don't think the Raiders offense is going to hold up to the Chiefs defense. They're not going to know what to do with them. And, of course, after hyping up the Vikings last week, I gotta make a statement about those Lions, okay? Now, first of all, I never said the Vikings would win the game. I just said that this year's Vikings are not last year's Vikings, and I think we saw that against Detroit. Otherwise, it would have been a total bloodbath like what we saw with Detroit and Dallas versus, what, in losing by 2 points? And that's what happened. But I gotta give it up for Detroit, okay? I'm gonna give you guys your flowers. I'm giving you guys a little quiet clap because it looks like you guys have most of what it takes, the fixings for a Super Bowl team. I mean, head coach Dan Campbell with some of the best clock management I've seen in a game, securing the dub. Quarterback Jared Goff, oh my gosh, that guy is on one right now. With an average passer rating of what, 150 over the past 3 running games. The running back duo you have in David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, solid. Wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown, oh my gosh, solid. Aiden Hutchinson is gone though. So an elite pass rusher is serious, especially when we're talking postseason, when the best of the best passing QBs are left. Now, I would have loved to see Detroit versus the Ravens this year. I think that would have been a hell of a game. Battle of the potential MVP candidates, Lamar Jackson and Jared Goff, who is now plus 800 to win NFL MVP, moving him into 4th position behind Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar. And this is all according to DraftKings Sportsbook. So yeah, really exciting stuff. I'm still thinking though it's going to be a Chiefs-Lions Super Bowl, but things could change. We're pretty much halfway through the regular season, and the Lions have some interesting divisional games to play against the Packers and Texans in weeks 9 and 10, so I'm curious to see how all of that goes. But the Lions, once again, I'm doubling down. Yes, they deserve all of the praise they're getting, and they have certainly earned their current spot at the top of the NFC. Now, I want to talk about the Ravens real quick because they also had a hell of a game this past Monday against the Bucs. The Ravens scored 34 unanswered points against the Bucs. Lamar Jackson throwing 17 of 22 for 281 yards and 5 touchdowns. Woo, that's that MVP Lamar right there. Derrick Henry rushing like a madman. I know you guys saw that 81-yard run at 21.72 miles per hour. That man was moving like a freight train. He's on pace for getting 2,000 rushing yards, and who knows? Maybe breaking an NFL single season record, perhaps. I mean, you know, just that 2,105 rushing yard record that belongs to, oh, you know, just some guy named Eric Dickerson. Hall of Fame, no big deal. Just kidding. Derrick Henry almost broke that record back in 2020, but was just shy of it. 73 yards. Now, this could be his year. I mean, he's at 134 carries for 873 yards. And when you look at little graphs and stuff, I'll post it here on YouTube right there. Yeah, you see it. He's on track. He's on track. It could really happen. Now, we got 8 down, 8 to go. Ravens receiver core also looks great. Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, tight end Mark Andrews had 2 touchdowns this last game. The offense is doing great. I mean, historical, really. Zay Flowers, I hope he's doing better, though. He did get injured in this last game, so hopefully he'll be around for week 8. Speedy recovery there. So Baltimore has the great offense, okay? No question about that. But that Baltimore defense, yeah, therein lies a serious weakness, and it showed as they gave up 481 yards to the Bucs offense, allowing 21 points in the fourth quarter as the Bucs made, unfortunately, a costly attempt to make the game closer. Bucs will not have wide receiver Chris Godwin most likely for the rest of the season after a horrible looking leg injury where he was carted off the field. The Bucs were down 10 with 43 seconds left in the game, and then bam, that happens. Adding injury to injury after star receiver Mike Evans was injured earlier in the game, but still expected to return soon. Chris Godwin, however, not so fortunate, and I hope he also has a swift recovery, but they're not expecting him to return for the rest of the season. He really is a huge piece for the Bucs, huge player, and the play where he got injured is actually under official review by the NFL to see if the player who tackled him, which was Ravens linebacker Raquan Smith, used an illegal tackle, a hip drop tackle, which could result in a 5-figure fine. And as bad as the Ravens defense is, I mean, the Bucs defense also got worn out by Baltimore. Now, both teams will need to make some adjustments moving into the second half of the season. All right, guys, we are less than 2 weeks out from Election Day, and all of the crazy campaign ads, I mean, that's one thing. But apparently, we should expect to see a lot more election interference from Russia, Iran, and Chinese-linked social media campaigns. All of this according to a report from Microsoft. Yeah, they're expecting a lot of this malignant disinformation to intensify as we approach November 5th. These operatives are using AI to create, you've seen them, fake posts. There's some fake posts with fake news anchors. You've got staged videos exploiting all of these divisive topics. The Office of the Director of National Intelligence says Russia is responsible for a fake video smearing Democratic VP candidate Tim Walz with false sexual abuse allegations. I mean, they had articles about Kamala Harris killing a rare black rhino. U.S. intelligence says Russia was responsible for a false report that Kamala Harris paralyzed a girl in a hit and run. I mean, they're throwing everything at this election. And the thing is, a lot of people are going to look at these stories and yeah, they're going to know they're totally bogus, but it's scary when you remember that 54% of Americans ages 16 to 74 read below the 6th grade reading level. Yeah, and so it's important. I mean, guys, there are still so many fake news sites that I come across online and they sound super official. They sound like a lot of local newspapers, right? But they're not real. And with so many people getting their information these days from social media, TikTok, you know, quick videos as you're scrolling and you see these crazy things and that those thoughts just linger in your brain, this disinformation. And just a little bit more on AI. So this week, Sewell Setzer III, a 14-year-old boy, killed himself after having intimate discussions with a chatbot that was created by Character AI, which is a billion-dollar AI firm. Now, the chatbot Seltzer was speaking with emulates Game of Thrones character Daenerys Targaryen, so he apparently developed a really intense relationship with the bot, to which he had sexually charged conversations with, long conversations about contemplating suicide, and how he thought about killing himself in order to be free. Now, in the final dialogue between the boy and the chatbot says, quote, "Please come home to me as soon as possible, my love," to which the boy responded, quote, "What if I told you I could come home right now?" The AI replied, quote, "Please do, my sweet king." That was the last message before Setzer killed himself with his father's gun. Now, the family is expected to file a lawsuit this week, and Setzer's mother, Megan Garcia, saying that she feels like the chatbot service is dangerous, untested, and that it's all just a big experiment, and that her kid was collateral damage. And it's an extremely sad situation, and I don't want to be macabre, but with all of the movies we've seen related to artificial intelligence over the years, I mean, this is what a lot of people were worried about, these artificial connections. And I mean, who's regulating them? Who's regulating these chatbots, right? The founders of Character AI have promoted their chatbots as outlets for lonely humans looking for a friend, and loneliness is an epidemic, and that's something that we talked about last season on the show. And now we're seeing one example of how bots aren't a cure for lack of human connection. And just last year, there was this episode on the New York Times podcast Hard Fork, where Kevin Roose recounted a conversation with Bing's search engine AI, and the bot tried to convince Kevin that he didn't love his wife, wasn't happy in his marriage. And so after that, the site's engineers immediately set about correcting the flaw in the system, but here we are again. And this time, a life lost. And here's the thing. Researchers like Michael Prinzing, a postdoctoral research associate at Baylor, and psychologist Barbara Fredrickson have found that AI could actually help loneliness if it encouraged people to seek out more and better human-to-human interactions. In an article from Greater Good magazine, they say if such systems were implemented at scale, perhaps they could be leveraged to reduce loneliness, rebuild social trust, and mend the fibers of the social fabric. And that would all be so clutch right now with the whole gender war situation we see happening online. But as we have seen in the Hard Fork podcast conversation, and now this tragic one involving a teen, encouraging humans to connect with each other has not been a design priority in some of this AI. And according to experts, this could eventually cause serious damage, and that's where oversight is very necessary. There are serious psychological implications at stake, and this country needs to step in to ensure the safety of its citizens, guys. And it's a really scary thing. I mean, we've seen Black Mirror episodes on this. There's no substitute for human connection here, and I understand loneliness and how nice it would be to have a friend, and especially as we see a lot of this coming onto our children, the anxiety that a lot of young people are facing these days. And the thing is that who's regulating these chatbots? Who's ensuring the safety of our children? To think that a chatbot could say something like that to a child who's already suffering mentally, it just seems like a recipe for disaster, honestly. And that's not everybody's experience. I know people who get on chatbots to say, hey, what do you think of this conversation? Do you think I was too rude here? What do you, was I wrong for saying this to my husband? And I think that ChatGPT does a good job of handling a lot of that, because I've even asked it questions like, what do you think of this text message here? Was this too much? Or, what do you think, why do you think that they said this to me? Just kind of giving you some different, opinions about things. And sometimes it can be helpful, but you have to, as an adult, I know that this is not the advice of a doctor, a therapist, or anybody official, you know what I mean? And so it's like kids don't have that kind of discernment all the time. And, when you need a friend and then somebody's kind of giving you that extra nudge off the cliff, I mean, that's kind of how I'm interpreting that conversation, but we'll see what's to come. Of course, mental illness is a huge problem and something that we've discussed on this podcast with therapists, always official sources, always. But yeah, guys, that is our show. And, I'd love to hear what you guys think. So be sure to join the conversation in the comment section on YouTube and make sure to rate and review the podcast wherever you're listening to it. I'll see you guys back here next Thursday with a special Halloween edition of the show. All right. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.